Welcome back to the Journey Podcast. This is episode number 8. And always with me, Jake Lembro with Guild Mortgage. So today we'll be basically talking about people that want to scale or grow the real estate portfolio. So that could be people that own one houses, a couple houses, and they want to grow the portfolio. So we'll be going over this, and Jake is going to break down many ways they could do it.
Yeah, so we've talked about like conventional FHA, all the different programs to buy your first house. Well, what happens when you've bought your first house and you know real estate investing is a smart thing to do? You've already seen all the equity that you've built from the first house that you bought. You want to buy more houses. What do you do, right? First thing is you can buy more primary homes. So if you have a home, you live in it for a year, you can buy another house primary using the same guidelines that we used previously, right? 3% down conventional, 3.5% down FHA, whatever it might be. And you can turn the house that you previously purchased into an investment property, meaning you can get tenants in there to rent it out. And then hopefully the rent that they pay covers your mortgage. When qualifying somebody for a loan, we get to use 75% of the rental income for a house. So let's say for easy numbers, your old house that you're moving out of, you're getting a lease agreement for somebody to rent it for $1,000 per month. You get to use $750 added to your income to be able to qualify for your next purchase.
Oh,
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
is it assuming the house is already paid off or?
It's just against the mortgage payment. So if your mortgage payment's $2,000 per month, you're getting a tenant to go in there and pay $1,000 per month. We get to use $750 off of that, so you're only hit for $1,250 instead of the full $2,000, which it helps out quite a bit, and especially if you're actually cash flowing on these properties. So let's say, it's $2,000 a month, and you're paying $2,000 a month, and the tenant is going to rent it out for $3,000 a month. Now you're actually making more rental income, and your income's higher because you have the house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is, it can end up being a lot. And there's a lot of people that I see that have 10, 15, 20 rental properties, and we can qualify them just on the money they make off those properties and not any of their actual income from their 9 to 5, or if they're a real estate agent in their 1099 or whatever. We don't need any of that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So basically someone that already owns a house, they can just rent out the house after 12 months.
Right.
And go again and buy another primary residence and repeat the process over and over and over again.
Every year you can do that. Yes.
Wow.
The rules stay on conventional and FHA when you're purchasing that you're going to occupy for a year. So as long as you satisfy that condition, after that year's up, you can shop and get into another place using that same financing that you did previously.
That's pretty cool, because for many people, when they're looking at buying like rental properties with the DRCR loan, for example, or if they are trying to go the route of private money lending, that could be very expensive.
Totally. Yeah. Whenever you're doing any sort of investment property where you're actually buying it to have tenants in there versus you moving in there, across almost every single lending institution and all products, you're at a minimum 25% down. Here in Washington, right? Bellevue, Kirkland, Seattle, you're dealing with $1 million houses. 25% down, $250,000. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
You probably can't get too many houses having to pay $250,000 every time you want to get one, versus you buy conventional 5% down. A year later, during that year, you save up another 5%. You do it again, over and over again.
Yeah. Plus, with those private money lending programs and even the DRCR program, that comes in with a very high credit score too.
Yeah. You got to be a perfect borrower, right? You have to have 25% down, credit 700 plus. Probably can't have a lot of liabilities because the interest rate's going to be higher on those products as well. So they're going to hit your debt to income ratio harder. So you have to make a lot of money. You can't have a lot on your liabilities as far as what you're spending per month. Good credit, huge down payment. So it's a pretty big uphill battle, not for everybody, but for most people. Mm-hmm. So if you are wanting to become a real estate investor and you're not a super, super high earner, doing it this way where you're getting a house every single year as your primary residence, that's absolutely the way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And also for some people that wants to use equity from the house, what are the options they have if they have to use equity from the house?
Yeah, good idea, right? So let's say you don't have 25% saved and you want to, but you have a bunch of equity in your property and you don't want to sell your house. You want to keep your house. What can you do to strip out some of the equity to put as a down payment for another house? So we have a cash out refinance where essentially you refinance your loan, meaning you restart on your 30-year term, let's say. You get a new interest rate. You're basically starting over on your loan, but you can pull out more money. So if your house is worth $1 million, you have a $500,000 loan on it, we can rewrite your loan at $750,000. And at closing, we can write you a $250,000 check that then you can put for an investment property on a house if you want to do that. So we could do that. If you don't want to refinance because you have an awesome 3% rate because you refinanced or purchased back in 2020, 2021, we have a HELOC. So a home equity line of credit. It's basically a second loan. Think of it as a credit card. So let's say you're taking out like $100,000 HELOC. So you have a $100,000 line of credit against your house and you can swipe it like a credit card. Let's say you want to buy a new truck, $50,000, right? You swipe it of your $100,000 HELOC, you're using $50,000. So then you have a monthly payment based off that $50,000. If you pay down your HELOC completely, so you're using a $0 balance of the $100,000 that you're able to like use, your payment's nothing. So it's exactly like a credit card.
Okay.
The more that you spend, the more that your monthly payment's going to be. And then if you pay it off, you don't have a monthly payment.
Oh, wow.
So that's an awesome thing. I know a lot of people that have a HELOC they don't have any money spent on it right now. So they have a $100,000 open HELOC line of credit on their house, right? If a property comes up that they want to purchase, they know they have $100,000 available to them that they can use to put as a down payment for their house. But they just have it open that they don't have a house that they necessarily want right away.
Right.
But if they do see something on the market or off market that they do like, they're able to pull the trigger because they have that equity line.
So once you have that HELOC open, does it have like an expiration date or you can use it whenever?
Some of them have like a draw term. There's one company that we broker out to that has like a 3-year draw. Usually it's 10 to 15 years and then it turns to a principal and interest payment after that 10 to 15 year mark, meaning whatever your balance is, it turns into principal and interest. One thing to consider is a HELOC until that time is all interest. So if you owe $600 per month, if you just pay that $600 per month, it's not going to lower your balance. So you need to pay that on top of and then pay money on top of it to slowly lower that balance if that's what your goals are. But to answer your question, after that 10, 15 years, it flips to a principal and interest. And usually that's on a 20-year term. Okay. So you just continue to pay principal and interest, and then it amortizes over 20 years, meaning you pay enough principal after that 240th payment or whatever it is, that 20-year, 12 per year payment. Once you pay that final one, that's $20,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is. It's that $50,000, like the last dollars of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So basically someone can rent out the primary residence, go out there, buy another property, rent out the first one and use the second one as the primary and repeat the process over and over again. Mm-hmm. And to do so, they can either save up their own down payment or use equity from the house with cash out refinance or HELOC.
Yep. And the more properties you have, the more opportunities you have to do that. Eventually, let's say you're making $300 per month because your tenant's paying $300 more than the mortgage on your first property. Second one's $500. Third one's $600. Boom, there's a time to refinance, right? Rates get better. You go from 7% to 3%. On that first property, you're making $300 per month. You're now making $1,200 extra dollars per month. So there's a way to like turn this thing into like essentially being more than what your 9 to 5 would be as far as what you're making per month without having to do anything.
Yeah. Plus, like owning rental properties, it just like having your own business working for you 24/7 without you actually being a part of the business, right? Because at the 9 to 5, you are only making money when you are actively working,
right?
Versus having a rental property. Not only you are making money with cash flow, which is the difference between what you make on your mortgage and what's left after the tenants pay the money, but you're also making equity. Like I remember on the second or third episode, we taught people on average, home value go up between 6 to 10% every single year.
Yeah, over 15 years it doubles. Like every 15
Right.
years your house doubles. So that's another thing that we didn't even touch on, right? Like these houses, so if you buy 15 of them, that first one every year, 15, one per year. So on that 15th year, that first one that you bought for $300,000, if the market stays how it's stayed over the last however many years, that one's going to be worth double what you paid for it, $600,000 now. You can cash out, refinance that extra $300,000, put it in your pocket, save it for another house that you want to buy or do an awesome vacation or whatever you want to do. But
Yeah.
as you can tell, like this game, you can grow pretty rapidly once you give it enough time.
Right. Especially in Washington, where the average price point is close to 500.
Mm-hmm.
You own like 10 rental properties. Let's say, assuming you only have like a couple 100,000 after those 15 years equity, you have $2 million
Right.
just sitting in houses, right?
Right.
And being able to save $2 million in 15 years with only a 9 to 5, it's almost impossible, right?
Yeah, and then once you have that amount of money, you don't have to wait every year to get a property. Right now, you can start putting that 25% down, doing the DSCR loan or whatever you want to do. So I've met a few people that have like 500 plus doors, meaning they have 500 plus houses or apartments or condos or whatever it might be. But yeah, one per year for the first 15 years. And like I said, it just happens rapidly after that. And then you can start acquiring, 15 per year rather than one every year from 15 years.
I mean, that's also the beauty of real estate, right? The best thing about real estate, to me, it's leverage. Because let's say you have $100,000 and you want to put it into the stock market. That 100,000 could only buy you 100,000 worth of whatever stock that is, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, or whatever, right? But with real estate, you get to use leverage, right? If that 100,000 is a 20% down payment on a house, that could be a $500,000 house. You don't have to have $500,000 to buy a house. And the more you grow, the more leverage you have, and the more properties you can definitely buy.
And let's say your stock grows 20% and your house grows 20%. You put $100,000 in both of them, but with stocks, you're now at $120,000. Where if you bought a property, you're not $600,000. So you made $100,000 versus only making $20,000, even though you put in the same amount of money.
Right. So if the stock grows 20%, you are making 20% off of the 100,000 you put in.
Yeah.
If your house grows 20%, you are making 20% off of the home value.
The value of the home, which is $500,000, even though you only own essentially 20% of it. The bank owns the other 80. Whatever the equity is, so another 20% equity, the bank doesn't get the equity.
No.
The bank is only getting what they're owed. That's why real estate's so powerful.
That's so powerful. And if you have many of those properties, that's a nice way to not only create wealth for yourself, but also to just create wealth that you can pass down into future generation. Because like a normal 9 to 5, for example, when I was working my 9 to 5, although I was making 6 figures, for me to save $2 or $3 million in the bank, that would cost me like a leg, right?
Totally.
Like, let's assume I was bringing home 80,000, and I get to live for free. I get to basically not pay anything, any food, anything, and just save up those 80,000.
Yeah.
To have $3 million, I need to save for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Without spending a penny.
Yeah, I was going to say not happening over 30 years. It's probably happening over maybe 60 years.
Yeah.
Which, if you're working at your 9 to 5 for 60 years, first of all, I'm sorry. That's no good. And second of all, come talk to us. We'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. So, like, owning real estate is a nice way to grow your wealth. And growing your portfolio, you have those ways of doing it. And if you have more questions or whatever, you call Jake. He's going to break those down for you easily.
Yeah, we have a ton of outside the box ways. I was just talking to a client that you actually referred me to last week. She said she was ready to buy. She really wanted to, but she doesn't quite have a 20% down payment yet. And I was like, well, good news. We could do 0% down. So I think have a conversation with your lender, have a conversation with your agent. There's options for you more likely than not. Just start the conversation.
Yeah, just start the conversation. And this is not only for people that already own houses. Like even if you don't have it, like have any house and you want to get started, everything start with one step, right?
Yeah.
You go from 0 to 100 houses by buying your first one.
Right.
Yeah. So just
Buying your first one's not the last step. I think a lot of people think once they achieve home ownership, they did it.
Yes.
They're good. No. Keep going. Like buying the first one's the hardest to get, honestly.
Yeah, it's the hardest to get just because we are not exposed to all this information when we are buying our first house. Doesn't matter who you are. Like most of us, we don't really know, or we are kind of scared. But getting to the first one, to me, real estate was like a vehicle I wanted to use to replace my income. The goal is for me to get to a point where I own so many houses that my passive income or cash flow from my rental properties now replace my active income. So
Right.
so I have what my other mentor Dutch like to say. You get to the freedom optional choice. You decide to work when you want to, when you get to that point.
Right. You no longer need to.
You no longer need to. So you wake up when you want, you go to bed when you want, and you go to work if you want to, or you stay home if you want to. But you have those rental properties like basically covering your income every single month. That's
Right.
the beauty of real estate.
And we'll help you get there.
Yeah, on my way. Yeah, so for everybody watching, if you want to get into real estate, to start purchasing real estate, and you need more information or more options on what to do, definitely let us know. Contact us. We are going to leave our comment down below for you to reach us to us. And if you already own like 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever properties you want, and you need to keep on scaling, we are also here to help you. We have an entire team that is dedicated to providing you the best service possible. Go ahead and call Jake. He's gonna definitely get you on your way to scale your portfolio.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thanks, guys.